Welcome to today's webinar. Today we're going to be talking about the 7 charity auction horrors that you can avoid. This topical webinar is getting a little closer to Halloween. Maybe you have some Halloween plans this weekend to get dressed up and go to a party. Maybe you even have a charity auction that you're doing this weekend. Maybe that's Halloween themed, who knows? But I'm excited to share some really good knowledge with you here today. Today, I'd like to welcome our guest, Brandon Stec, who's the Director of Marketing over at GiveSmart. Welcome, Brandon.
Thanks for having me. I think this is our third or fourth one together. I'm excited.
That's true. Yeah, we love working together on these and collaborating and discussing, what's the latest and greatest in the industry, especially as it's changing so much. Brandon is part of GiveSmart, which was formerly Gesture, acquired by Community Brands. Isn't that right, Brandon?
Yeah, Gesture, GiveSmart, and 501 Auctions were all purchased at the same time by Community Brands, and now we have rolled out one product with all these fancy features. It's called GiveSmart, so it's
Sweet.
been an exciting year so far.
That's awesome. I see you still wearing that Gesture shirt in your picture. It's time to get a new one, right? No,
it's time to upgrade the apparel. Yeah.
Right. My name is Ian. I'm the Vice President of Fundraising here at Winspire, and we love putting together these resources and many other things for you nonprofit event fundraisers out there, because we know it's a tough job. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Winspire, we put together travel packages that for your live and silent auction and fundraising raffles. These are no risk packages. You don't pay anything to use them in your event, but you purchase them afterwards and only if they raise money. It's just a great fundraising tool for rounding out your live auction offering, especially. And we've been in over 50,000 events globally. We've helped service over 94,000 winning bidders. Those are your most important constituents we know, so we treat them with the utmost care, that white glove service, because we're a full service travel agency. And since 2008, we've helped raise over $56,339,000 for nonprofits, and that number is growing every single day. As I mentioned before, the way it works, free to reserve. You can sell the packages as many times as you want during your event, which is a great way to amplify your revenue, which we'll talk about a little bit today. And then you get to keep all the proceeds above the nonprofit costs. And again, we take great care of your winning bidders to make sure they want to come back and purchase travel from you at your events year after year. Brandon, before we get started, go ahead and tell us a little bit about Community Brands. Like we mentioned, it's a new kind of global company, right, that acquired up Gesture.
Yeah, so Community Brands is a combination of 50 plus products that have been acquired over the last year and a half, 2 years, pulling together really everything under the envelope of nonprofit fundraising, but also association management. We work with K-12 and education foundations as well. We have products in that vertical as well, but specifically, our nonprofit solutions is really what's been growing the most lately. 115,000 global customers with over 2,000 employees. We've taken donations of around $3 billion in 2018 alone. And of that, 500 million of that has been raised through fundraising events. We actually just surpassed 600 million, which is really exciting. So GiveSmart, Gesture, and 501 are all now part of Community Brands under one name, GiveSmart. Our product offers everything from unlimited DIY events, mobile bidding. I'm not going to read all these things. There's just so much involved. Live auction support, checkout, check-in, and then obviously the different features that really have been a pillar of Gesture, GiveSmart, and 501 Auctions. Those are also now part of our platform all combined. So everything from the advanced ticketing and guest management, table seating, and then the reporting features that we know are very important. I think we're going to touch on more stuff on reporting in a little bit.
Very cool. And thanks for sharing that. And the reason we want to share that is kind of to also demonstrate how much we work on events. It is our lifeblood. It's what we think about. It's what we live and breathe every day, just like you guys and gals out there. And so, and we also get kind of a 30,000 foot view of what's going on everywhere, right? Across the country, across North America. And so that is why we have these webinars, so we can collect that information and then disseminate it back out to you all. So today we are going to be talking about these 7 horrors I'm just going to run through them really quick. Too many or too few auction items, not promoting your auction items, amateur auctioneers, neglecting donor interests, not getting things underwritten, not including travel in your auction, and then also waiting too long to book vendors. So we have a lot of content to get through today. We're going to do our best to do it under an hour. There's a possibility we might go a little over, but we'll see depending on how many questions we get at the very end. We do want to hear your questions, so don't hesitate to submit them anytime during the webinar throughout. There's a little questions pane on the GoToWebinar panel. We're not going to answer them during the webinar, but at the very end, there will be a Q&A section where we'll go through and answer all of your questions. So don't be shy. We'd love to hear from you at any point during the webinar. But before we begin, I always like to start these things with a little bit of a poll to get a good pulse of what your events are looking like out there. So I'm going to launch this poll here. What we want to know is how many people typically attend your annual gala? Is it 0 to 100, 100 to 250, 250 to 500, 500 to 750, or is it 750 plus? Now's the time to vote. We're going to give you just a few seconds here. Got about 65%. Just a few more seconds. All right, really want to know how many people attend your gala. 3, 2, and 1. Great. Okay, this is pretty typical, very average, right? That 250 to 500 guest range. This is pretty, unsurprising for you, Brandon.
That's pretty much the breakdown of events we work with. That's funny. It kind of always falls that way.
Yep, that's great. Okay, good. Well, yeah, there's going to be tips here that we're going to be sharing here today. That's going to be for events that are on both sides of the spectrum and right down the middle. So don't worry, we're going to be speaking to pain points for all of you guys today. Then last, how many auction items do you typically include in your live auction? This is always kind of an interesting thing I like to ask because people have varying opinions on it. Do you not have a live auction? That's totally fine. We have plenty to talk about today, not just about live auctions. Do you include 1 to 4, 5 to 7, 8 to 11, or 12 or more items? Folks, I've seen it all. I've seen auction items or auctions that are 50 items. I've seen them even more than that. So don't be shy. Go ahead and share it right now. I'm going to give you a few seconds. 3, 2, and 1. All right, interesting. Great. So 8 to 11, that's perfect. That's kind of like that's definitely the recommended amount that we usually go for in terms of the number of items. No live auction items, also fine. I'm sure hopefully you're doing a silent auction or some sort of other fundraising revenue stream that you have at your event. But we're going to be talking about all those things today. Any reaction to this, Brandon?
It's pretty much what I was expecting based on the size of the events here. 8 to 11, I was going to say, is probably going to be the sweet spot for the average, and it sounds like a lot of people are diving into other fundraising elements, which is great because there's a lot more you can do, and you can certainly be creative, and we're all about being creative with our fundraising as we continue to evolve.
Love it. Okay, great. Cool, so let's start. Got a lot to cover here today, so let's get to it. Number 1, the first horror, right, is too many or too few auction items. So right on the heels of that question, it sounds like a lot of you understand that the proper number of live auctions, live auction items, but how many silent auctions is ideal as well. So we'll talk about that. But as far as the live auction goes, we just said, right, the sweet spot is between 7 to 12 items. Basically, it has less to do with the amount of items that you include in your auction and more to do with the amount of time it takes to go through them, right? You want to be able to get through all of your live auction in less than 30 minutes. And most good auctioneers, professional benefit auctioneers, can do about an item every 3 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes. Sometimes they'll linger, sometimes that if you do an item every 3 to 4 minutes, you can do 8 to 10 items in no problem, right? No problem in under 30 minutes. So that's that sweet spot. Some auctioneers can do it even faster, right? The key here is you want to stick to your agenda and you want your live auction to last less than 30 minutes because that's about how much time you have of people's attention, right? As far as how many times you can sell those items, right, that can totally differ, right? We talk about selling multiples, and this can be done with both consignment items or donated items, right? You can sell multiples of a dinner that you get donated from a restaurant, no problem, right? You just say, hey, if lightning strikes twice and we get a lot of interest in this, would you be willing to donate a second item of this same thing, that we can then sell twice? Even if they say no, you can still sell it twice, right? Especially if you get the retail value from that business owner. And 9 times out of 10, when you go back to them and say, hey, we had somebody purchase a second one, they'll give you a discounted or even decide to donate it at that time. So selling multiples can still happen with donated items, but it's especially crucial with consignment items. You can sell consignment items as many times as you want. I'm just going to give a quick example. This is a common package that's out there of Sonoma Valley winemaker. Let's say you have one bidder at 5,000. The key here is you're end up making a lot more money, right? Selling one item 3 times versus it just one item at a high price. So the current bid's at 5,000. The package is at 2,000, or excuse me, 2,950, right? You're going to raise 2,050. If you have a bidder 2 at 5,500, you're going to raise a little bit more. And if you have one bidder at 6,000, you're going to raise 3. All right. Now, what would happen instead if you sold it to all 3 at 5? You're going to double the amount of money. And then also, if you get one underwritten, you can raise even more. I know I went over that really fast. We're gonna touch back on this a little bit later in terms of getting underwritten and selling items multiple times. So stay with us. I just want to make sure that we get through this. Silent auction. How many items should you have in the silent auction? You want to have. Brandon and I were just talking about this right before the webinar. You want to have half the number of buying units. And what is a buying unit? It's usually a couple, right? A pair of people makes one buying unit, right? Because that's a more realistic number of people that are actually going to be out there spending money. So take the number of people in your event, cut it in half, and then you want to take another half of that to figure out how many items you should have. So if you have 200 people, you have 100 buying units, and that means you have half of that, no more than 50 items, right? What happens if you have more than that? You're creating a buyer's market. You're creating a market where people can come and they can make one bid on everything because there's actually more items than there are people in the room to buy. You can see this supply and demand chart. If the supply goes in excess of the demand, people are going to spend a whole lot less money on those auction items. So you want to create a little competitiveness in the room by having less items, and there are buyers, so people start to kind of fight over the items, and that's where people start bidding up the amount on each item. Does that make sense? Did I go over that all right, Brandon?
Yeah, you hit it right on the point there. Just to add on to that, the other piece of it is that you really want to make sure that there's interesting items. So if you have a donated item that really you don't think you're going to get much money for, we highly recommend packaging those, and that allows you to keep your number of auction items or auction packages available in that sweet spot. Packaging items, you see these 2 packages just on display here. They're combined trips and experiences where there's not just one item. It's not just a stay at a hotel or a couple of tickets. It's combining things and making that experience and making that theme carry on. It would also help get right in that sweet spot of the numbers that you're trying to hit. Because oftentimes you have donors who are willing to give you all kinds of stuff, but it doesn't have high value. You combine that stuff, it really increases the value and increases how much you're going to get for it. As you focus on that number, that sweet spot of half the number of buying units.
That's great. Yeah, combine packages as you get things donated, make them into more interesting, bigger pieces. I think that's a great tip. Time is money. This is a really important thing that we like to reiterate here at Winspire. You want to make sure that you're spending your time on the things that are going to make you the most money. And oftentimes the silent auction, right? People end up spending too much time and energy and resources on it, and it's not necessarily the biggest moneymaker of the night, right? Instead, you should be out there spending your time networking, getting the right people in the room, building those relationships with VIP donors, and trying to procure the bigger items that are going to be in your live auction, right? So, instead of going out and trying to procure 100, 150 silent auction items, be strategic about what you're looking for and go out, get those bigger items. And then you are setting yourself up for success, because your time isn't wasted on pounding the pavement, going door to door to every single business to see what little knickknacks you can get donated to put together into bigger items, right? You really want to figure out what your donors want and then go find those items, which we'll talk a little bit later as far as donor interests are concerned. Did you want to add anything here, Brandon?
Yeah, real quick, just the other part of time is money is don't spend all your time doing menial tasks to support your silent auction. Like Ian's saying, it is, a time suck to go out and pound the pavement, but it also can be a time suck putting together all those paper bid sheets and all that. Obviously there's technology out there. GiveSmart can help you support that. Look into the different ways you can save time, because that time can be spent getting a bigger ticket item or finding that donor in the room that's going to give you that $5, $10, $20,000 donation.
Exactly. Yep, it's all about what is going to make you the most money the night of the event. And I guarantee you it's sponsorships. It's getting those people in the room that are going to bid on those big ticket items versus, like you said, the menial stuff. I think Scott Robertson, an auctioneer out of Florida, he likes to talk about how every single silent auction item has like 7 to 10 touch points before it actually gets to the event, right? In terms of procurement, delivery, packaging, display materials. There's all these different things and people that need to touch it before, and think about how much time each person needs to take to do those kind of little tasks, and it adds up, right? Instead, those people could be spending that time going out, spreading the word, getting the right people into the room, which in the night of the event ends up raising a whole lot more money. Promoting auction items, horror number 2. Brandon, do you want to talk about priming the pump?
Yeah, I mean, it's so important. You have those guests in the room, but if they don't know in advance what's going to be there, they may not be ready to bid. If you can promote your event and as well as your silent auctions with very good information, not just, hey, we're going to be auctioning off a bunch of items. It's, hey, we have this Hamilton ticket package that's going to be up for auction, and you provide that information in advance. And there's so many different ways you can prime the pump and really put that information out there. If you let them know in advance, they're going to have an idea of what they're already wanting to come in spending. And they're also going to prepare for, okay, I want to donate $10,000, but I also really like that Hamilton package. I'm going to be prepared to bid on that in the live auction. Or if it's a silent auction item, there's maybe 4 items that they're interested in that they're already ready. They're priming the pump. It's the concept of people are shopping. They're always shopping. And if you have your Amazon site up in advance, people are going to know, hey, I want to get that. And then if you're using technology, people can start bidding before the event even begins. And then your bid price is already built up. You're already making money before you even step in the door.
That's so true. You can imagine the conversation between, the couple before they attend the event. If they come in the night of the event, they have no idea what's in the live auction. That's going to be a hushed conversation at the table, like, honey, I really want to go to Napa. Honey, please, please, please. And then, then they have to have that conversation. Whereas before, if they know about the items before, right, a week or 2 before, they can start to have that conversation and be ready to bid by the time they walk in the door, know exactly how much they're prepared. And so you're priming the pump because you're getting those bid cards ready to raise without having the conversation at the event.
Yeah, we highly recommend opening up your auction a week early. That allows the donors to either, if they can't attend, start bidding, pay attention. They can start watching. I've had that exact conversation with my wife at an event, and it's so common where they didn't know it was going to be there, but now they really want it. They weren't prepared to buy. If they prepare to buy, they're going to buy it, and they're going to bid more than when they've already been told in advance.
That's great. Pre-promoting live auction items. We just talked about this, but especially true with big ticket items, right? That it can attract high net worth donors, right? Travel packages being one of those. That's part of the reason why Winspire is in business to help nonprofits, is to create those things that are hard for you to procure as a procurement team, right? That'll get those big high net worth donors really excited about coming to the event and then also bidding on these items. So let's talk a little bit today, Brandon, about what are some of the avenues that you can use to promote it?
So there's a lot of obvious ones. People are like, oh, I should, send an email out. I should send it out in my invitations, and that makes a lot of sense. But social media is one of your best avenues, especially if you're utilizing technology, because anyone can bid on items. And if you truly want to drive up the price on items, share it with your network wherever you possibly can. Social media is also a great avenue for people to share with others. So a great example of that is, we'll go back to Hamilton as a consistent theme. You have this Hamilton package you shared on your social media page, and Ian sees it. And Ian's close friend who lives, a few blocks away has been trying to go to Hamilton for years and just hasn't been able to find good tickets. He's going to go share that directly with his friend because he sees you post it. One, that's a new potential bidder, that's a new potential supporter, and it is already potentially going to expand your network to whoever else is in Ian's network. And that is a huge avenue for the nonprofit to expand your presence in the marketplace, but also to get some early bidding, early interest in your items, especially if Ian's friend decides to come to the event and then you have a live bidder. The other ways is every time you email about the event, do a teaser, put something out there that is just, hey, we just bought a package for the auction. Jump in early and get excited. Make sure you're ready to go for this really great Kentucky Derby package we just added. Those kinds of things go a long way with your donors, but also preparation is the key to success. If they're prepared to buy, you're going to be ready to sell.
There you go. I love it. Yeah, making sure it's getting out there. I would say in terms of consistency, right? Social media, you can post a lot more than you can email, right? On social media, you can post daily about, the event, we just secured the venue, look at the decorations we're making. Oh my gosh, look at this new auction item we just secured. Check out who else is attending the event, finding, those kind of big figurehead people in your community, having them help promote the event by, maybe publishing a post about a couple auction items or just that they're about the cause that they're attending. That's so great. Email, you definitely want to be careful. You don't want to inundate folks, but especially as you get closer to the event, you can start to email a little bit more once a week, kind of giving people updates, how you're excited to see them, reminding them of the cause, keeping the cause at the forefront. And of course, print, you want to have, we just got a great invitation the other day from Boys and Girls Club. I think it was Florida. It was a superheroes themed. It looked like a newspaper almost invitation. It was very elaborate, but they had their auction items in there, showcasing what people can expect and come bid on. It was just a really great piece. So it's an example of print.
Yeah, it's pretty great with your sponsors as well. If a sponsor makes a donation of an auction item, make sure you tag them in your social media posts.
Good point.
And then jumping in here is an online auction. Post your items online. We've already mentioned it quite a bit, but if you have your auction items available, people can go in here and they can go bid right away. So you see some items here that are available for bids, no bids, and even featuring your live items. So we have Explore with the chef image here. They can click on that, find out the information, know how much it's potentially going to cost, and it gives them something going in the room. The online feature, certainly look into it if you're having a silent auction and a live auction, because then you can share that information in advance. And again, it primes the pump. It gets people in the door early, and the bids are coming in before the event even starts.
Love it. All right, let's talk professional benefit auctioneers. For those of you who do not have one, we're going to talk a little bit about why it's important. And then for those of you who already do have one, there's still some tips in here to make sure that the one that you have, I know it can be like breaking up with a girlfriend. It can be really hard to get rid of your existing, or I don't want to say get rid of, but replace your auctioneer with a new one. But it's important to make sure that the auctioneer that you have is giving you the utmost service, because there's more and more auctioneers that are in the industry out there learning, and there's some great ones who can come in and really connect with your audience and just do a great job and help you really take your event to the next level. So what is the difference? Well, first off, for those of you who do not have a professional benefit auctioneer for your events, there's a big difference between a professional, someone who knows what they're doing, and perhaps like a local MC. I see the local weatherman as a very popular and common kind of step in. But what professional benefit auctioneers know how to do is they know how to extract money out of the room. Even if it's a normal auctioneer who's not a benefit auctioneer, right, and who doesn't have experience with the nonprofits, when they come out and look on a stage and they look at an audience, they look at an item and they just say, hey, how much can I sell this item for? They say they have a pen in their hand. How much can I sell this pen, right? They're very focused on the item, right? But benefit auctioneers, the good ones, the people who are out there and who are trained, they don't care about the pen or the product. They look at the audience and they say, how much money can I extract out of the audience? They are focused a whole lot more on the people and on the cause and the reason for being there. And they are always bringing it back to that when they're speaking and engaging with the audience. And for those of you who've been to an event that has a professional benefit auctioneer, I can probably, tell these people are down in the audience. They know how to get people bidding off each other, continuing to bid, getting competitive about it, and having a blast, spending money and also supporting your cause. And there's such a huge difference. A professional benefit auctioneer is going to pay for themselves in the first few minutes of getting on that microphone. Right? So it's so crucial, especially if you've never done it before and you're considering. We highly recommend going out there and hiring that benefit auctioneer specialist and trying it out, at least for your event. And a good benefit auctioneer specialist is going to do some pre-event consulting with you. They're not just going to show up the night of the event, right? What they're going to do is they're going to meet with you several times before your event. They're going to ask questions about your audience. They're going to want to know exactly who the VIP donors are and where they're going to be sitting. They want to know the items. They're going to advise you on what items to get, right? Based on the donor interest, based on who your audience is. They're going to make some recommendations on, this is maybe what I think would go really well. Here's the order I would put it in. And they have experience and a track record that shows, hey, here's what I've been able to accomplish with these other organizations. So make sure when you are going out there and searching for auctioneers, you're asking these questions. Hey, what sort of pre-event consultation do you offer? What are you going to provide me in the way of event advice? What can you show me as success stories, right? Definitely go out and get some referrals, right? Call some of their previous customers and ask, hey, is this guy or gal worth what they say they are? And can you tell me about, what they've done for you? And if it's a good auctioneer, they're going to be overflowing with enthusiasm because the good ones know how to come in and raise a ton of money the night of the event, way more than a normal just MC. Right? So where do you go to find an auctioneer? We work with hundreds of them across the country, considering we are in so many events. So we're in over 8,000 events per year. So we talk to a lot of auctioneers. So if you need a referral, please get in touch with us. We'd love to help you out. You can also go to the National Auctioneers Association website and do a search for a benefit auctioneer specialist. Make sure they are accredited and they have some certification. And then also Brandon over at GiveSmart, they work with a lot of events, so they have some auctioneer partners as well.
Yeah, our customer success managers, we have about 100 across the country that have worked with several auctioneers. So always ask in your process if you're looking for a recommendation, because oftentimes they'll have advice on what's worked and where to look if they don't have a direct referral.
Perfect. Neglecting donor interest. This is huge. We just talked about how, auctioneers will help you kind of guide your auction item selection based on your donor interest. And this is something you should be doing on your own anyway, right? Before you start going out and getting those items. In the very beginning, I talked about going and using your time wisely. Well, the first thing you can do to use your time wisely is to figure out what your donors actually want to buy when it comes to your auction, right? So yeah, Brandon, why don't you tell me a little bit about knowing your donors?
So there's a couple of different things you always want to know about your donors in this regard, but there's nothing wrong with just asking donors, what would you be interested in buying? What would you bid on? What are some of the elements of an event that you've liked or disliked? And then how do you want to give? That's something that, Community Brands, we just put out a study on how donors want to give in the event fundraising space and just in fundraising in general. And it's very important that you don't underestimate the giving power in the room. And that's why it's good to ask. Survey donors after an event, but also reach out and utilize your already built network of who's coming to say, hey, what would be fun for you? Do you need a live auction? Do you need a fund the need? Would you rather use technology? Would you rather not use technology? They'll give you answers because donors want to give you money and they want to do it in the way that is going to be most beneficial for you, but also is most convenient for them. The other part of it is use your data. See what people are bidding on. If you have 7 bidders on one package and 1 bidder on another, you know that one package is more appealing than the other. Use that information for future silent auctions and live auctions. If an item just blows the doors off and raises more than you've ever expected, find out how you can get something else like that. How can you entice people even more with a package deal with that item? Really, dig into the data and then utilize your donors and their willingness to share to your own advantage.
That's great. Another great place to start is with your board as well. So they're a great place to go to start asking questions, right? Find out what they're interested in, because honestly, most boards are a pretty good cross section of who your target is for your major donors anyway, right? Your board is going to be people, and they're going to be related to people in your community that are the kind of VIP major donors that you're looking for to get to the event and to bid in the live auction, right? So they're a great kind of cohort to start with in terms of asking questions and figuring out what they want. And so I'm going to try. I have a little handout that I included. If you want to go over on the side pane, it should say handout, maybe below the questions. There's a board member questionnaire there, and the board member questionnaire gives you, a list of 5 to 6 questions that you can send your board that ask them, if you had $5,000, where would you want to travel? If you could, spend X amount on one of these things, what would it be? Then you're starting to get some information and feedback from them, and you can start to collect it, right? Let's say you get 10 responses, you can see what sort of commonalities there are. If you see Napa wine country 3 or 4 times, then hey, there's kind of an interest here for going to California and drinking some wine. So that's a great place to start. You can also survey your constituents at large. If you want to send out a survey monkey survey, trying to ask you what are the things that you are interested in purchasing and buying, whether it's local experiences, travel experiences, or other items as well.
And just to add to that, when you're building your questionnaire, add questions that are related to the types of items that you want to get. If you are looking for a theater package, ask what was the last show your board members went to. If they went to that show, their friends and guests are going to probably want to go as well, or that same demographic will be interested in the same show as well. Those kinds of things.
Yep, I was going to pull up let me pull it up here actually real quick. We have a little bit of time, so I was going to show you. Here's the questionnaire. Questionnaire. And that might be the wrong one. I'll actually put a different one up there. I'm realizing there's a good questionnaire that we have that'll ask about auction items. So I'll put that up for you guys. Pre-securing bids. Why don't you talk a little bit about pre-securing bids there, Brandon?
For sure. So this isn't just bids. It's also especially with the fund the need. So fund the need, paddle raise, pretty interchangeable term. In advance, we call them kind of plant donors or plant bids. Know someone in the room is already going to make a bid on some of your items. If it's a board member, that's the easiest verbal commitment that you can get in advance. But if you know that someone's a definite donor at $10,000, make sure that the auctioneer knows to start at $10,000, not $20,000. If that's your highest expectation, or $15,000, something closer, to see if there's anyone bigger money, but knowing that you're not going to be going $15,000, $12,000, $10,000, $8,000. Plan that out based on what you already have pre-secured. Also, it kind of changes the monotony of an event when you have people ready to bid. If there's a CEO or president in the room that is willing to get bidding starting, also an exciting thing. Board members are really great for those plant bids, though.
That's great. Yeah, I like to say that it's good to get verbal commitments. I mean, especially for the fund and need, right? Those pre-secured gifts at the top when you start making your appeal. But the live auction, it's okay to go out and ask and say, hey, is this something you'd be interested in bidding on, right? Engage their interest. You don't have to, get a firm commitment, but if you get, a bunch of yeses from, 5 to 6 of your major donors that, oh, wow, I'd love to, do that, then that once the time comes for you to offer that item, there's going to be interest in the room versus not getting any verbal commitments. And then you're just shooting in the dark. You have no idea whether people are going to actually bid on it. So before you start promoting it even, you can go out and actually be selective about the people you show it to and say, hey, is this something that you'd be interested in? You know, what do you think? Do you think your friends would like this? Do you think there'd be other people that are like you that would be, you know, want to bid on this? Do your research, right? Get to know your donors and figure out what they're going to be interested in. Forgetting to find underwriters. Underwriters is such a huge piece of any event, right? Getting sponsors to underwrite the cost of, you know, the tables and chairs, the venue, the food, the band, the lights, the decorations. There's so many things you can get underwritten, right, from your donors, and in return, they can get sponsorship opportunities in your program, on signage at your event, online, as far as, you know, like your mobile bidding is concerned. But most importantly, one of the best things you can get underwritten is your live auction items, your consignment items that from Winspire. It's a great thing for donors from, you know, for example, doctors, lawyers, people who don't really have a thing that they can donate to the auction. But you can ask them if, hey, would you like to sponsor a, you know, $3,000 auction item for the event? Then 100% of the proceeds end up going back to you and your cause, right? And it's also a wonderful way to recognize them publicly, right? Whereas other donors, they'll get logos, right, in the various programs and signage. When it's during the live auction and the auctioneer has everyone's attention, guess what he's going to say right before the package is offered? He's going to say, the following incredible trip to Iceland is donated by, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Smith right here in the front row, or, you know, Dollar and Associates over here in table 6, right? Everyone claps and then the bidding begins. And then that donor who donated the money for that package gets to see their initial donation of, say, $3,000 turn into something much bigger, especially if it sells for a lot of money. Then they made an investment that had a huge payoff for you and for them in the end, and everyone wins, right? So it's a great way to recognize donors is by, you know, having them underwrite the cost of your live auction packages. And it's also, if you have a no consignment policy with your organization, it's another way to get around that. Allows you to get some of those bigger, more big ticket items into your auction. And then last thing too, or I guess we have number 7 after this, but making sure to include travel in your auction. Travel is such an important piece of any auction, and that's because it is the #1 selling auction item out there. If you go to an auction, it's typically going to be a mix of local experiences and, you know, kind of things, knickknacks like parking spaces, fun things like that, intermixed with travel packages. And that's because travel sells just so well. And it sells well because it's unique, right? There's so many different opportunities for places you can go, things you can see, and ways that you can match donor interest to various travel locations, right? Who doesn't want to travel? It's popular. I know that, yeah, everyone, you know, myself included, right, would love to go on vacation and travel more. But the fact is, these constituents, the people who are going to be bidding on these big ticket items, probably travel a little bit more than your average person, right? If they have the means, especially as they are getting older and retire, they're going to be looking for places to go travel and see the world, right? And there's also this thing called existing travel budgets, and it's slightly different from, you know, a philanthropic budget from your donors. People actually budget money each year for travel. That's in addition to that philanthropic budget that they set aside for your events. And we survey all the winning bidders that come across and go on our experiences, and it's staggering some of the stats that we've seen. 53% of winning bidders who go on a Winspire experience budget at least $10,000 a year for travel. Again, this is outside of their normal philanthropic budget that they were already setting aside to spend on the event. They have a budget that they have specifically for travel. So here, what you're doing when you're offering travel in your auction is you're accomplishing two deeds. Oh man, I'm forgetting the saying, but you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone here, right? You're giving them something to purchase as far as travel is concerned and support your cause, right? So you're trying to get that budget that's dedicated to travel. Number 7, this one's you, Brandon. Waiting too long to book vendor.
I think the slide didn't change on my end. I'm not seeing I'm still on pre-secure bids here. There we go.
All right, there we go. So yeah, there we go, travel sales. There's that stat, 53% of winning bidders budget $10,000 a year for travel. So keep that in your mind as you think about offering it. Good call, Brandon. And then waiting.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. You're up, number 7.
Yeah, so booking your vendors, obviously, we're all in planning stages. You don't want to wait too long. You want to make sure you have your vendors in place so you can go through the planning process with them as well, so that the entire experience is really optimized. Most vendors are going to spend multiple calls, multiple meetings with you. And I'm not just talking mobile bidding, but in the technology space, when you want to plan for ticket sales, we always tell you allow for at least 30 days for planning and ticket sales. You want to open up ticket sales with enough time for people to plan, get on their calendars, and 30 days is when we recommend. The other thing to consider, obviously, is any kind of rush fees that might be charged. So make sure you're always asking, if you are getting too close to the event, is there going to be rush fees? And then avoid those by booking in advance with your vendor. Do the research early. We have our avoid time pressure. I think we've talked a lot about time and managing our time. You also don't want to feel rushed. You don't want to feel like you're doing everything at once and it's all going to fall apart in the end. You want to put yourself in a position for success, and avoiding that time pressure and booking early. It doesn't have to be a year. We recommend 3 to 5 months early to book your vendors, so you have time for planning, but also to get ticket sales out there and promote for a good period of time. A full 30 days of promotion is a solid time frame to work off of.
Great. No, that's so important. Yeah, I mean, as with any planning, right, you want to make sure you get out way in front of it and give yourself ample time to really do the things right and diligent. You're not making rash decisions, right? Time is money. It's one of your most important resources out there as an event planner. So, if you're planning for your spring event, now is when you should be making a lot of these decisions as far as the technology provider you're going to be using, the auction items you're going to be including in your event, who you're targeting in your community to go out there and recruit and try to bring in and join you. So I think that's really important and a great tip. So
we have a great resource on our blog on this, and when to start doing things. That if anyone wants to reach out to me afterwards, I'd be happy to send you. It's a free resource of basically the timeline for event planning that incorporates when you should start with the technology as well.
Perfect. I love it. I wanted to finish with just a few top selling packages of 2018. We talked a lot about the importance of live auctions today and using travel. These are just some of our top sellers. Always at the top is our Tuscany Culinary Escape these days. It's just been going like crazy. We have Ireland, Land of Fire and Ice. And actually also in Ireland, we have a Game of Thrones package that allows you to go around to all the various castles and explore that. The Ireland Land of Fire and Ice is more about the kind of an eco tour with Northern Lights, Blue Lagoon, Golden Circle, that sort of thing. Hamilton's always a smash hit, actually in Chicago now, as well as our Punta Cana resort over in the tropics. And then we also have some hotel only stays that we are offering now from Preferred Hotels and Resorts. These are just a kind of a sample, but these can be included in your silent auction at a lower price point. They work the exact same way, where you only purchase the items that actually sell and raise money at your event. If nothing sells, it doesn't cost you a dime. So these you can include in your event risk-free. Just go ahead and go to our website and contact one of our event fundraising specialists, and they will help you secure them for your event. With that, I wanted to thank Brandon from GiveSmart. And if you want to learn more, you can contact GiveSmart to learn more about their event fundraising and mobile bidding software. There's the information right there. Did you want to say anything, Brandon?
Yeah, I really appreciate you including me on this, and we're really excited to do these kinds of webinars and share this information. I know I mentioned a few white papers and different things we have coming out. We're actually putting a Hamilton white paper out next week on what types of different packages related to the Hamilton monster that it is work best, and what we're seeing in even just different markets. So that'll come out next week. Please feel free to visit our website for that. And then if you have further questions, I'm happy to answer anything related to event fundraising, because we've seen it all, we've heard it all, and it's always fun to see and hear new things and new questions.
Sounds great, man. That's awesome. And for us, we'd love to talk to you about your next event coming up, maybe in November or in the spring next year. You can visit our catalog at any time, winspireme.com, or give us a call, 877-544-8555. We'd love to help you with your event. And we're also giving away $1,000 travel package to a lucky blog subscriber. on November 1st. That's next week. So get your entries in now. You can go to winspireme.com/giveaway to enter, and you will start receiving just our weekly digest with best tips and practices for the event fundraising industry. So enter now for our drawing on November 1st. And then last but not least, then we'll get to some questions. We have our podcast on, it's called Events with Benefits with my good friends, Danny Hooper and Renee Zhao. Danny Hooper's an auctioneer, just a riot. He's a lot of fun to listen to. Renee Zhao is the founder of Donation Match software, just a great source for getting auction items in your area. We have this podcast that we interview industry specialists, thought leaders from the big, nonprofits like JDRF, and people like Brandon here to share just best practices and explore industry trends as they happen. So you can find that wherever you listen to your podcast, or you can go to eventswithbenefits.com. And last but not least, I will finish with some questions. Let's pull these out here. All right, I'm going to do some rapid fire questions here for you, Brandon, and we'll kind of talk these through. So this one's from Monica George. Oh, did you have any questions?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay, cool. This one's from Monica George. We've gotten feedback from folks whose wallets are somewhat smaller than our major auction winners who still want to give. How do we appeal to them too and make them feel welcome to donate at the level at which they are most comfortable?
There's a few simple answers, and then you can even think further outside the box. We often recommend have different, if you're obviously laws abiding, a raffle, something that's smaller ticket, but people can buy multiples of. For your fund to need, go down to the level that they're comfortable at, and it doesn't hurt to ask. For auctions specifically, there's nothing wrong with having lower priced items, things that may appeal to, maybe it's a younger crowd. Often your young professionals board is doing a different kind of event where they want to have an auction as well. Look at items that are going to appeal in value to them. Maybe they don't cost you much or the donor much to give, and then you can also then in turn auction those off at a lower price so those people can support. And then be smart with packaging. Look at gift certificates as a way to provide more value to that person so that dollar looks like it's a bigger ticket. Restaurant gift certificates, the meal and the experience often is worth more than the $100 that you're getting. When they're looking to only give 150, sometimes that's a good fit. But it's really thinking outside the box for those people. We often recommend wine pulls and different gimmicks and games like that. There's a game called Heads or Tails that a lot of the young professionals events are using. It's more interactive. I have a lot of fun when I play it, and it does allow them to give less but still support, and they feel very involved with the event.
That's great. Yeah, I would say, your lowest price one, especially auction items, can be safe for the silent auction as well. But you want to have plenty of opportunities for people to give. Monica continues, we do a fund and need and not a live auction. Do you recommend one over the other, or should we do both? Should an auctioneer do both these things? We highly recommend doing both a fund and need and a live auction because you can do them both in under 45 minutes, right? The fund and need you can do in less than 10 to 15 minutes. The live auction you should be able to do in under half an hour, and 45 minutes is something that you can get done towards the end of dinner, right? As people are finishing up. And it's what it is it's two revenue streams. They're two different revenue streams that you are offering your audience to engage and spend money, right? So we highly recommend doing both and doing them both pretty much one right after the other. Whether the order is totally up to you, however you want to do it. I've seen it both ways, but you want to make sure that people are reminded of why they're giving, right? Have a little video or a really short speech, and then get right into the live auction or fund and need, and then have a benefit auctioneer, professional benefit auctioneer doing both, right? That's what they specialize at, is selling auction items and then doing that direct appeal, the fund and need to get people to donate. But highly recommend doing both over just one of them.
I would also recommend, if you have the ability or if you're using technology, show a display of not just the live auction items. You definitely want visuals of the live auction items, but also of how much has been raised. If you're able to use a thermometer or a custom image or something that shows, oh, we're getting so close, the benefit auctioneer is going to feed off of that. And they're also going to know how much was raised in the live, and they can combine those efforts, and that's why you want the same person doing both. You absolutely want that mission-oriented message delivered before, not in between. You don't want to break the flow of raising money, but also you want them reminded of we're giving because of this, and that's gonna really start making people feel ready to donate. And timing wise, they're almost interchangeable when it comes to kicking off the live giving experience, as long as you get that live auctioneer out there ready to go, armed with all the tools necessary.
Love it. Love it. Christine, Tammy, Cindy, and Melissa, thank you for reminding me that the slides were not advancing. I apologize. I feel kind of like an idiot that those weren't showing, but I hope you guys still got the gist of what I was trying to convey. But that was a great question. Monica, George, thank you for that. And then also, thank you, Alessandra. I did mean Ireland, not Iceland, for the Game of Thrones castle adventure. So thank you for that. I'm just not on it.
They sound very similar, so we'll excuse you on that
one. Elise Jackson, can you share the board member handout again? So yes, I will re-upload the board member handout as well as a board member questionnaire here very shortly. So give me a second there. Got a couple other questions here. How do you get people to underwrite items? Do you let them choose which packages to underwrite? This is another, or do you not give them a choice and just see how much they'd be willing to sponsor and determine the package yourself? This is a great question. This is again from Monica George. Love these questions, Monica. It's totally up to you, and it depends on the donor, right? If you know that it can go either way, right? I would say you can totally show them like some of the opportunities and see if that kind of sparks their interest. If there's a certain package, you can ask them if there's a certain package they'd want to underwrite, or you can just ask for a certain amount to really help offset some of the cost of the live auction. It kind of depends on who you're asking, but it is always great to show potential sponsors exactly what they'd be buying, because I think they'd be really happy to see, oh my gosh, I'm going to donate this incredible Napa package, and that means 100% of the proceeds are going to then go to the nonprofit. So I think you can absolutely use some of the collateral that we provide for our packages to take that to donors. This one, thank you for
that. Just to add on that real quick,
oh, yeah,
with the technology, obviously you can have someone underwrite your technology, but you can also build sponsorships including in the technology. So if you have in the software, and Monica, I don't know if you're using software, but you can actually go in and sell sponsorships and include that, where it's going to give the donor more exposure and allow them to pay maybe a little bit more and help you underwrite a few more things. So incorporate those sponsorships with all the tools that you have available. If you're using a vendor that allows you to have sponsors, include that in your packaging and make sure you have a technology sponsor separately as well. Some people really want to support a technology effort, just like some people really want to support a live auctioneer effort, those kinds of different things. Know who like Ian said, know who your person is, so you can kind of script it to them a little bit, and be prepared to add in additional things with the ability of technology.
I like it. That's great. Thank you for that. Suzanne Pestal, they're asking for that the silent auction survey for the board member. So I just uploaded them. You should have 3 handouts there. So go ahead and download those, and these are just great resources for you to engage your donors. Give me just a second here. I'm getting a question. Can you show the slide with the Game of Thrones travel package? Absolutely. Let me put that back up real quick.
Not Iceland, it's Ireland.
It's Ireland, yes.
Ireland.
There's the Game of Thrones package while we're doing that. Handouts, they are over on the right side. So where there's the GoToWebinar control panel, there should be little handouts drop down that you can download things from. So go ahead and check that out. This one's from Mike Wang. Could you explain more about buying units in terms of how many items to have in an auction? Are they the people who actually buy an item or bid and or buy an item? You're simply just taking the number of people that are going to be attending, and you cut it in half, right? And that's the number of people who are going to be actively participating. You're basically looking for one wallet, right? And a wallet usually means a couple, right? Two people who come together to an event is usually one wallet. So you want to take basically your total number of attendees, cut them in half, and you want to do half of that again, right? So the easy examples, if you have 200 people, that means you have 100 buying units, and then you have half of that. You want no more than 50 items on the tables at your event. It's going to cut down on unnecessary wasted time, you know, in terms of preparing for the silent auction, and then also avoiding the dreaded buyer's market, right? You want to make sure that there's a lower supply so that buyers are actually competing over the items versus the other way around. We have too many items, and then the buyers can go around and just bid once on everything, and then they get great deals on these items that you went spent so much time procuring. Thank you for that, Mike. This is from Elizabeth Romaine. We've always done the celebrity auctioneer and not invested in a pro. What is the range of costs we can expect for an auctioneer? Great question, Elizabeth, and that totally depends on the auctioneer. Some do a flat fee, some do a percentage of the amount earned, and then some do a combination of both, right? So it totally depends on the auctioneer. We'd be happy to provide you kind of with some pricing structures or some recommendations if you give us a call. It actually depends by region, right? So if you have, depending on where you are, we can make some recommendations and let you know how they charge when we make that recommendation.
And the other thing, you know, I would recommend is don't scrap the celebrity from your event, but maybe incorporate them in a different way. So I went to an event recently where they had a celebrity comedian. They did the comedy act. They didn't raise the money. They had a professional auctioneer for the money. It allowed them to be that entertainment, but maybe incorporate that in a different way. If they're a big enough celebrity, you can do photo shoot with and things like that, where they can raise money, you know, $5 for a photo, maybe a little bit more, but you get the idea. Don't lose that element if you have access to celebrities, but don't have them be the ones responsible for raising the money you need for the year. Put that in the hands of someone who's been doing it thousands of times over, because they're going to be able to really optimize the room, like we said earlier, and then that celebrity is there as an added bonus.
That's a great point, and that reminds me of kind of some of the events I've seen where it's been like you said, right? There's a difference between the MC and the auctioneer, right? The MC welcomes people, is, you know, the flashy person, maybe is talking to the mic, but then as soon as it gets to the live auction and the funded need, the auctioneer is when they come in and do their thing, right? So handing it off, you can have both, especially if the celebrity auctioneer or celebrity is doing it as, you know, they're donating their time, right? Then it totally makes sense. You get in trouble if you have to pay for both, right? That's but when it comes to live auction, funded need, professional's great. And thank you for that, Suzanne. You had another question that says, what do you say to naysayers? What a great question. Naysayers about benefit auctioneers, I assume. I mean, the proof for me is in the you know, the experience and the success stories, right, that these other auctioneers have. I can't. There's going to be times where auctioneers come in and do not do well, right? And there's going to be auctioneers who come in and just absolutely crush it. But time and time again, I've heard of example after example where people try to skimp on their benefit auctioneer costs 1 year, and it just nosedives in terms of the amount they generate in the live auction and funded need. So if you can go get some real world examples from auctioneers, they should have plenty of testimonials and examples that they can provide you. I would just start with those when you're dealing with naysayers.
And before bringing it to the board, I would go see that person in action if they have recordings of them in action. Even if they don't give you a list of events, if you know of someone who's using them at an event, see if you can go watch them raise that money, because seeing is believing. Proof is in the pudding. I've got a lot of cliches I could throw out there, but the other part of it is naysayers, just in regards to, I'm assuming technology is another one that there's a question out there for. We have enough data to prove that you're going to see a return. Ease of use and headaches alone are reduced. So think about that value, and then get a demo. Always get a demo of what you're trying. Always make sure to talk to testimonials, talk to people who have used it. Experience it if you can. Attend an event or register for an event, because if you're looking at a technology or a benefit auction or any real service for your event, if you've not seen it in action, or if you don't know whether how they operate or how they set up the flowers, whatever it is, you're putting yourself at risk. And then naysayers have the opportunity to say, oh, I don't like that. But if you can give evidence through examples, testimonials, and even just an experience of it, it's really hard to say, oh, it won't work when you watch it work for someone else.
Totally. That's a great point. Thank you for that, Suzanne. Nancy Snyder, what is the heads and tails game? Can you just go over that real quick, what that is?
I love this game. I'll do it real quick because I know we're at the 1 o'clock Central Time. Heads or tails is a play on flipping a coin, but instead it is everyone in the room stands up. You flip a coin. You have the MC flip a coin, and before they reveal whether it's heads or tails, everyone puts their hands on their head, or they put their hand on their, for appropriateness, on their tail, and you keep playing until there's one person left who picks the right head or tail. In order to participate, you had to have bought a ticket at the beginning of the event to participate in the heads or tails event, or you can do it as a live, hey, raise your hand if you'd like to participate. Everyone gets charged $50, whatever it is, similar to a raffle, but it's a fun game. The starting quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, Andy Dalton, his foundation runs the game every year. He goes up on stage and he's the MC. It's a great way to use a celebrity because they get to have fun with it. All they're doing is flipping a coin. They're not responsible for raising money, and everyone has a little fun with it. It loosens up the mood. It's a great thing to do before or after a big appeal, and it's definitely kind of a gimmick that allows people to say, oh, I remember when we did that at that event.
And then, so what happens to the winner? What do they get?
The winner can, you can give them some kind of fun package that wasn't available in auction. You can reward them with a portion of the money, and then they end up donating it back, which is a play on the 50-50. Or you get to, you can come up with a fun trophy that I've actually seen done, which was just, a $20 trophy. But, it depends on your crowd. If they're really there just to participate and donate, and they're not going to be concerned with winning something, maybe you need to, just do something simple. Or if you want to make it a true contest, you can come up with some really fun packages and different things for that. Or you can give them the coin, which is more facetious joke, but, I wouldn't be surprised if that would work with some people.
Got it. That's great. I love it. This is a question from Lou. Can you explain a little more about these no risk packages, and what is the advantage versus doing it on our own? We got that question from Christine Rembold as well. Can you explain a little more how these packages work again? Again, these are the nonprofit costs, is just the flat cost that you are looking at. If these packages sell in your event. So you want to start the bidding at 20% over the package cost at least. So for a $3,000 package, you start at 36, and that way, if you get just one bid and one bid only, you're going to make at least $600, but it typically goes far beyond that. And then you keep everything above the nonprofit costs. And again, the advantages here is that you're able to put into the event these big ticket items that you can't normally procure on your own. The things that that allow you to offer travel around the globe and really attract these big high net worth donors to bid on these packages at your event. So again, they're free. They're totally free to reserve. It doesn't cost you anything up front to use, and you keep everything afterwards. Then you just let us know who won. We're a full service travel agency, so we take care of the winning bidders. Entire experience. We want to make sure they have a fabulous time so that they come back to you year after year and are purchasing these packages from your events. We're just going to take a few more questions here, and because we've got some really good ones, and then we'll wrap this up. This one's from Karen Killebrew. Our 500 guest event has never had a live auction or fund need, and we do not have a sit down dinner. It's more social cocktail with snacks. How do we transform from that to a live auctioneer? I think that's a great question. What do you think about that, Brandon?
I'm sorry, you cut out on me there for a second. Can you repeat that?
Sure. So 500 guest event has never had a live auction or a fund to need, which are two, I think, crucial parts of a big auction, especially when you have 500 guests. There's definitely going to be people in the room who are going to be able to contribute to either a fund to need or want to bid on a live auction. They do more kind of the cocktail snacks. They don't have a sit down dinner. How do they make that transition? What do you suggest?
For something like that, the recommendation I make is try to do it electronically for a fund the need. A live auction would be great if you have a congregation moment, if you have everyone congregating at one point, if it's a poker night or something like that. Those sometimes are harder to do a live auction at, but a fund the need can be done electronically throughout the event. So you can set it up where you have a presentation at the beginning, you have a video sent out, a link on your video, a link video sent to all your donors in the room. They can watch the video and make a donation on their behalf in that regard, and you track it on a video board where everyone can see where you're at and throughout the event. You say, hey, we're only $50 short, we're only $5,000 short, whatever the scenario is. That will work because they're engaged by phone, and that's where the technology helps. The other thing you can do is promote live auction items in advance, and once the event gets around, you still have that professional auctioneer, and it's just a more spread out live auction. I don't know the exact details of the event, but if you have 500 people in the room, you want that live engagement, especially with the fund the need, and then having the electronic event as well, where you can have an online auction. People can go in and bid throughout the event, regardless of where they're standing, if they're not congregating for a meal, if there's no collection of people at one time. But I would definitely look at implementing technology. We actually did a big state fair type event in Texas where they had no congregation of people, but they raised over $1 million because it was all digitally promoted. And they promoted in advance. They prepared people saying, this is how it's going to be done. Go to this link to support. And they had people who didn't even buy tickets for the fair event that were donating and bidding.
Love it. I think that's a great call. Just two more questions here, and then we're going to, sorry about that, Gene. I know Blue Lagoon is in Iceland. Now I know it. I didn't know before. So
you learn something new every day.
I learned something new every day. Suzanne wanted to clarify the naysayers who think raffles and wine tosses are distractions. I don't. What do you think about that? Are raffles and wine tosses distractions? I think they're not terribly distracting because they're not like they can happen.
They're not live
right?
Yeah, they're not live occasions. So like heads or tails, absolutely a distraction from something else potentially. It's something you have to have the right crowd for, where they're engaged with the event at that period in time for it to be really successful. But when you look at a wine pull or a raffle, those are low touch interactions. There shouldn't be a lot of interaction with the person selling the raffle tickets, and then the raffle should be a simple, quick announcement. It doesn't need to be a broken out live auction. So it really only takes a few minutes at the end of the event. You can also text out to the winners, who won it, and there's other ways to implement technology. There's also, I would demo what you're using for technology to make sure they can support those to make it easier, because sometimes those can be heavily done via technology, and then there is no distraction because people are able to do it, while they eat their dinner, while they wait in line to check in, while they leave, those kinds of things. So look into the implementation of that. If it's being a distraction now, maybe there's ways that you can adjust.
I like that. That's good. And Martin Campbell, just to confirm your recommendation for buying it is number of guests divided by 2, and then divide that number by 2 to get your number of selling items. That's exactly correct.
It's 1/4 of your guest number.
Basically 1/4 of your guests. That's right. Tammy Scott, can we use your packages if we aren't using your auction services? Absolutely. You can use our packages for anything you want, right? If you say, can we buy your package at the nonprofit cost and use it as a gift to someone like a large donor? Absolutely. We don't have separate auction services. We're simply offering these packages to you at no risk that you can use in your event. This event or this webinar will be available afterwards. So we're going to be sending this out as a recording so you can review everything that we talked about today. I'm going to wrap it up there. Brandon, did you have anything last that you wanted to add?
We had some really great questions. I'm glad we were able to answer those. And if there's further ones, feel free to follow up with us. But again, take these points to heart. We're definitely providing information from tens of thousands of different events we've experienced, and I hope over time we can continue doing these webinars and sharing more information, as we have tons and tons of data nowadays.
I love it. That's great. That's awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. You will get an email from me with a link to the recording. You can respond with questions, or if you wanted maybe those handouts that we talked about, if you didn't get the right one, just let me know. And stay tuned for more free webinars coming up very soon.
Thanks, Ian. Have a great day.
Thanks, Brandon.